There are people who don't just live in the world, they feel it pulsing inside their chest. A glance, a distant sound, a simple gesture. Everything seems to touch deeper than it should. These beings walk through life like living antennas, absorbing vibrations that most people overlook, and at times that becomes a burden. Alan Watts once said that consciousness is a double-edged blade. The more awake it is, the more vulnerable it becomes to both beauty and pain. Perhaps that's why you feel so much, because somewhere along the way, your heart refused to fall asleep. But feeling too much in an anesthetized world is almost an act of rebellion. While so many run from their emotions, you dive into them. While most people seek distraction, you seek meaning. And that's where the loneliness of the awakened begins. The discomfort of seeing what others cannot yet see. In this video, we'll dive into the words and visions of Alan Watts to understand both the gift and the challenge of deep sensitivity. You will discover that you are not alone. That feeling intensely is not a flaw, but a form of spiritual intelligence. And within that intensity lies something sacred, the reminder that you are, in essence, a living part of the whole. Now take a deep breath. Allow the words to touch the space between your thoughts, and come with me on this journey. Chapter 1. The Curse of the Sensitive in the Modern World. In a world obsessed with speed, success, and efficiency, sensitivity has become a quiet rebellion. To feel deeply is to live in constant friction with a culture that praises detachment and rewards numbness. From childhood, you were told to toughen up, to stop overreacting, as if emotion were a flaw to be corrected rather than a sacred language of the soul. Alan Watts often reminded us that we are not machines trying to become spiritual, but spirit temporarily playing at being human. And yet, this world treats sensitivity as a malfunction, something to be hidden, medicated, or rationalized away. The sensitive ones become outsiders, walking through crowds that move too fast to notice the miracle of a single moment. But the truth is, feeling deeply in a numb world is an act of profound courage. It is the heart refusing to be domesticated. While others seek distraction to escape the weight of their own existence, the sensitive one stays, feeling, witnessing, allowing. And that willingness to feel is what connects them to life in its rawest form. Still, the curse is real. Because in a society that equates strength with suppression, those who feel too much often carry invisible wounds. They sense the pain behind someone's smile, the tension in a room, the collective anxiety in the air. They absorb it all, until their bodies ache with emotions that aren't even theirs. Watts would say that this sensitivity is not weakness, but expanded awareness. You are not too much, you are simply closer to the pulse of reality. To feel more is to live closer to truth, but truth, as we know, is not always comfortable. The sensitive being walks a lonely path, but perhaps that loneliness is not punishment. Perhaps it's the initiation, the sacred solitude where sensitivity transforms from curse into wisdom. Chapter 2. Consciousness as an amplifier of pain. Alan Watts once said that awakening is not about becoming something more. It's about realizing what you already are. But the moment you awaken, you begin to feel everything. The joy, the sorrow, the stillness, the chaos, all of it floods through you like waves meeting an unprotected shore. Consciousness in this way is not an escape from pain. It's an amplifier of it. The more aware you become, the more impossible it is to look away. You start to notice the subtle suffering behind everyday life. The loneliness disguised as confidence, the exhaustion beneath ambition, the collective restlessness humming beneath society's noise. This awareness opens your eyes, but it also opens every nerve in your being. Watts described this as the paradox of awakening. To see the world clearly is both liberation and heartbreak. Because clarity doesn't numb, it sensitizes. And as consciousness expands, so does empathy. You begin to sense that the pain of others is not separate from your own. You start to realize that every emotion, every wound, is part of the same living field of experience. This is why the awakened often feel overwhelmed. They carry not only their personal struggles, but also the unspoken pain of the collective mind. Their consciousness becomes a mirror reflecting the totality of human existence, beauty and brutality intertwined. But here lies the quiet revelation. What you feel so intensely is not yours alone. It belongs to the great rhythm of life itself. You are the ocean, not the wave. And when you stop identifying with the wave's pain, you rediscover the peace of the ocean's depth. Pain, then, becomes the teacher. It breaks the illusion of separateness, revealing the sacred connection beneath all things. Watts would whisper, "You don't suffer because life is painful. You suffer because you believe you are apart from it." And so, to feel deeply is not a curse. It is life remembering itself through you. Chapter 3. The Paradox of Empathy. To suffer or to awaken. There is a secret burden that the empath carries, the inability to look away. When others cry, you feel the tears burning behind your own eyes. When someone is angry, the fire catches inside your chest. It's as if your emotional skin is thinner, your boundaries porous, your heart constantly exposed to the weather of the world. Alan Watts once observed that when you try to control life, you only tighten the knot. Empathy is like that. The more you resist the pain you absorb, the tighter it clings to you. But if you stop resisting, something miraculous happens. Compassion begins to transform pain into understanding. To be deeply empathetic is to stand at the edge of two worlds. One where you drown in others' emotions, and another where you witness them without being swept away. The difference lies in awareness. When empathy lacks consciousness, it becomes suffering. When empathy is illuminated by presence, it becomes awakening. Imagine standing in front of a stormy sea. If you believe you are the waves, you'll drown in their chaos. But if you remember you are the sky, vast and unmovable, you can watch the waves dance and still remain at peace. That is the true art of empathy. To feel everything without losing yourself within it. Watts taught that love and detachment are not opposites, but partners in the same dance. Real empathy is not about absorbing another's suffering, it's about seeing it with so much clarity and compassion that it begins to dissolve in your presence. So when you feel the world's pain pressing on your heart, don't turn away, but don't make it yours either. Breathe it in and let it pass through. That is how the empath becomes the healer. That is how suffering becomes awakening. Chapter 4. The Hidden Beauty of Vulnerability. There is a quiet elegance in being open, in allowing life to touch you without armor, yet most of us spend our lives trying to hide this softness, fearing that if the world sees how deeply we feel, it will break us. We mistake vulnerability for weakness, when in truth it is the most courageous form of strength. Alan Watts once said, "To be sensitive is to be alive." And indeed, the heart that dares to remain open in a hardened world is nothing less than revolutionary. It is through that openness that love, creativity, and insight flow into being. The tender heart is not fragile. It is the birthplace of art, empathy, and divine connection. Vulnerability is the doorway through which the soul enters the world. It allows us to experience beauty not as something external, but as something that breathes through us. When you let yourself feel, really feel, the morning light on your skin, the sound of laughter, the tremor of grief, you are participating in the great symphony of existence. You become a living instrument of the cosmos. And yet this beauty cannot be seen by the eyes that seek control. It reveals itself only to those who surrender, those willing to let life pierce them, reshape them, and make them tender again. For every wound that life leaves upon your soul becomes an opening where light can enter. Watts often described the universe as the game of hide and seek between the self and itself. In vulnerability, the game ends, the mask drops, and what remains is pure presence, the raw pulse of being. So do not rush to cover your wounds. Let them breathe. Let them speak, for they are not signs of your fragility, but sacred reminders that you are still, gloriously, alive. Chapter 5, Finding Balance, the Middle Way. There comes a moment in every sensitive soul's journey when feeling deeply is no longer enough, when awareness must evolve into balance. Because to live open-hearted in a chaotic world is not just about sensitivity, it is about learning the sacred art of staying centered amid the storm. Alan Watts often spoke about the middle way, the space between extremes where wisdom is born. He said that life is not about clinging to joy or running from sorrow, but about dancing gracefully between both. This is the paradox of balance. You can only stand steady when you stop trying to control the rhythm. For the sensitive being, this means learning to observe emotions without being consumed by them. It means feeling the world's pain, but not carrying it. Loving deeply, but not losing yourself in the process. It's the realization that presence, simple, grounded awareness, is the bridge between chaos and calm. There are moments when silence becomes your greatest ally, when instead of reacting, you breathe, when instead of analyzing, you listen, not with your mind, but with your whole being. In that stillness, emotions lose their sharpness, and empathy transforms into understanding. Watts often compared human experience to music. You don't dance to get to the end of the song. Likewise, you are not here to conquer sensitivity or escape your emotions. You are here to move with them, to find rhythm within their flow. To walk the middle way is to realize that balance is not static. It's alive, shifting, breathing, and endlessly renewing itself in you. And when you align with that rhythm, you begin to live from the heart without drowning in it. The awakened ones do not suppress their feelings, they harmonize them. They learn to hold both pain and peace in the same breath, and to see no contradiction there. For in truth, the storm and the stillness are not opposites. They are two notes of the same divine song. Chapter 6, The Gift of Awakened Heart. There is a sacred tenderness that comes from walking through pain with open eyes. When the heart has been cracked enough times, something remarkable begins to happen. Light starts to pour through the fractures. The same sensitivity that once felt like a curse transforms into an instrument of love, intuition, and deep understanding. Alan Watts often reminded us that you are the universe experiencing itself. And when you finally stop resisting your own depth, you begin to see this truth clearly. Your sensitivity is not a burden, but your bridge to the divine. It is how the universe feels itself through you. To have awakened heart means to see beauty even in imperfection, to sense connection where others see separation. It means being touched by the smallest things, the smell of rain, the rhythm of a stranger's laughter, the silence that follows loss. Each moment becomes sacred because each moment is alive with awareness. Those who feel deeply are not meant to withdraw from the world. They are meant to heal it simply by being real, not by fixing or preaching, but by embodying presence. Your stillness becomes medicine. Your compassion becomes light. Watts once said that when you awaken, the universe laughs, not out of mockery but relief, because it finally remembers itself in you. That laughter is the sound of surrender, the release of resistance, the realization that everything, even the pain, has always been part of the same divine play. And so, the gift of awakened heart is not that it feels less, but that it loves more freely. It no longer fears the shadows, for it knows they too are made of light. It no longer seeks to escape the world, for it sees the sacred in every detail of it. The awakened heart doesn't close to protect itself. It opens wider again and again until there is no self left to protect. only love flowing endlessly through everything. Conclusion: the sacred weight of feeling. If you've ever wondered why you feel so much more than others, perhaps the answer is simpler and more sacred than you think. You were never meant to walk through life untouched. You came here to feel the pulse of existence, to experience the raw textures of love and loss, and to remember what it means to be truly alive. Alan Watts often spoke of life as a dance, not a problem to be solved. And the sensitive soul, the one who aches, who cries easily, who sees beauty in silence, is simply the dancer who has stopped pretending the music isn't there. You hear what others have forgotten to listen to. That is not your weakness. It is your awakening. The world may try to harden you, to convince you that your depth is too much, your softness naive. But softness is not the opposite of strength. It is the proof that your heart is still open, that you have not let fear turn you to stone. And in a world that numbs itself daily, that is an act of quiet revolution. So breathe, forgive yourself for feeling deeply, forgive the world for not understanding you, and remember, you are not here to fit in, you are here to remember. To feel is to know life intimately. To feel is to know yourself as the universe in motion. As Watts would say, when you let go of who you think you are, you become what you truly are, and what you are is infinite awareness, wrapped in human tenderness, the one who feels everything because you were never separate from anything.